Good morning, students. This video is for class 4 science, and as you have already seen that yesterday we have already started the second chapter of your syllabus, that is adaptation in plants. I have already explained 2 pages in the online classes during the online classes, and today we will start after that. So today our topic of discussion will be plants growing on hills. In the online classes I have said plants, there are two types of plants. One is terrestrial and another is aquatic. So terrestrial plants are those plants which grows on land, and there can be different like flat area, hilly areas, then you have desert areas. So plants depend upon plants have different adaptation depending upon the place where they grow. Sorry. Plants growing on hills. Hills or mountains are high areas of land. So we all know hills and mountain, they are very high areas like this, and they are very colder. They are colder than plains. So the areas, the hilly areas, have less temperature. That means they have colder region, colder temperature, cold weather compared to the plains. Snowfall usually occurs in winter on mountains. So there is generally snowfall during the winter season. Trees growing in these areas adapt to live in cold condition and show the following adaptation. So the trees growing in all these areas, they are adapted. They adjust themselves in such a way that they can survive in cold region. They can survive in low temperature. What are the adaptation? What are the changes that you can see in this type of plants? Let us see. Number one, trees have thick bark. Bark means the skin of the trees. They have very thick bark covering the tree. They are usually tall, straight and cone shaped. So these trees, they are generally very tall and they are cone shaped. They are cone shaped like this. You will find the trees like this, the sloping cone shape. This allow snow to slide off their branches easily, and because there is generally snowfall or landslide, when this fall on the branches, they slip easily and fall off. Next, the leaves are waxy and needle-like to prevent loss of water. So if you see the leaves of the plants that grows on the hills, they are needle-like and they have a waxy coating. They have a coating, very thin sheet of coating they have on the leaves, so that they can prevent themselves from losing water. Trees are flowerless, and in place of flowers, they have cones with seeds inside them. So the trees that grow in the mountains, they are cone shaped. They have cones. They have cones, and in that cones you will find seeds inside that instead of flowers. For example, pine, fir, deodar, spruce and cedar are some trees that grow in the hilly areas, that grows on the mountain. The next is plants growing in marshy areas. Plants growing in marshy areas. Plants growing in marshy areas means wetland, area that always has water in it. So what type of adaptation, what type of changes that you can see in those plants which grows in the marshy areas, means area that is the area that is filled with water all the time. Marshy areas, which is also known as swamps, are areas of lowland that are always wet. These marshy areas, they are generally low in height as compared to the plain area. They are much lower than the plain area, flat area, and that is why they contain water and they remain wet. Due to high water content, the soil is clayey and very sticky, and because there is heavy water, huge quantity of water, large quantity of water, the soil is clayey. They are clayey, the clay type of soil, and they are very sticky in nature. Plants growing in these areas are called mangroves. So all the plants that grows in this area, they are known as mangrove. They are known as mangrove. They show the following adaptation. For example, what are the adaptation that you can see? Roots of mangroves do not get sufficient water because the soil, because the roots, they are always inside the soil water. That is why they do not get they do not get enough water. That so that is why the roots of the trees. What happens is that they grow upward. The roots grow upward so that they can be away above water and they can easily get sufficient air. Therefore, these plants have specialized roots called aerial or breathing roots that grow above the soil. They help them to breathe. As I have told you, they grow above the soil, which helps them to breathe easily. Grey mangroves grow in swamps. They have said Sundarban in West Bengal is famous for its mangrove forest. The next one. The next is plants growing in coastal areas. Plants that grows in coastal areas means areas beside the sea or oceans. Okay. Now, coastal areas are areas with hot and wet climate. The climate in the coastal areas, they are hot and they are wet. That means you will find lot of moisture in the air. Climate. The soil in coastal areas are sandy and saline. That means it contains salt in it, and the nature is sandy. And these places are generally windy. Because just because they are beside the sea or oceans, they have lot of wind blowing all the time. Trees grow in these areas show the following adaptation. And what are the adaptation that you can see in the trees which grow in coastal areas? Let us see. The plants that grow in coastal areas can tolerate the presence of saline soil and withstand strong blowing wind. So the plants that grow in the coastal areas, they have the power, they have the ability to bear the presence of saline, means the presence of salty soil, and they have also the ability, they have the capacity to face the strong wind that is blowing all the time. Number 2, they bear many leaves and do not shed them throughout the year. They have a large number of leaves growing in them, and they do not shed. The leaves remain all the time throughout the year. Number 3, the fruits and seeds of trees get easily dispersed by sea. That means the fruits when they fall off, they get carried away from one place to another with the help of the water that is flowing in the sea. That is why they are said dispersed by sea. That means dispersed by the water that is flowing in the sea. What are the example? Some example like coconut, teak and rubber grow well. They grow very well in the coastal areas. So children, for today up to this much. Thank you class. In the next class we will continue with adaptation in aquatic plants.